In this week's double parasha, Parashat Tazria Metzora, the parasha begins with the topic of the birth of a baby boy. Mazal Tov, if a baby boy is born, and the parasha begins to speak about the idea of the Brit Milah on day number 8, as well as the Tum'ah v'Tahara, the impurity and the purity that the baby's mother experiences at the birth. So it starts off speaking about the Tumat Leida, the impurity of the birth. God speaks to Moshe saying, Daber el bnei Yisrael lemor, Isha ki tazria v'lada zachar, woman will give birth, have a baby boy, Mazal Tov, v'tame'ah shivat yamin kimei nidat devotat titma. She's going to have a 7-day period of Tum'ah. This is the Tumat Leida, similar to the Nidat Tum'ah. Ubayom Hashemini Yimol Besar Orlato. And day number 8, we're going to have a Brit Milah, the bris, Mazal Tov, Yishtabach Shemo. And then, this is the pasuk now I want to focus on in this week's Devar Torah. Ushloshet Yamim, Ushloshim Yom, Ushloshet Yamim. And for 33 days, Teshev Bidmei Tahora. She's going to be in a state of what's called Dam Tohar, purity, pure blood. Any blood that takes place right now is considered to be Tahor. Bechol Kodesh Lo Tiga, Velamikdash Lo Tavo. Ad melot yemei tahora, and she's not allowed to bechol kodesh, anything holy she can't touch, and coming to the Beit HaMikdash she can't go to until the full 33 days are up. And once the 33 days are up, she's completed the yemei tahora. Now she can go to the Beit HaMikdash, and there's a whole process of day number 40, bringing korbanot and things like that. Okay, now. We're in the middle of the Sirat HaOmer right now. Most of the time we're reading this parasha during Sirat HaOmer, and we know that we see in our parasha there's 33 days of Dam Tohar. There's 33 days of this pure blood that only at the end of this 33 days can she go to the Beit HaMikdash. So this number 33 holds major significance during Sirat HaOmer, and I was thinking there has to be some kind of mystical teaching relating this Dam Tohar to the 33 days of Lag Baomer. There had to be some kind of Lag Baomer connection. So Baruch Hashem, Baruch Shekivanti. So I found in the Hatam Sofer. The Hatam Sofer has a long teshuvah where he's discussing: should we celebrate Lag Baomer? Should we not celebrate Lag Baomer? And he brings he tends to lean towards not so much doing all the hoopla that we do nowadays. Nowadays in Israel, Lag Baomer is one of the biggest party days. Actually, since till the big till a terrible tragedy that took place on Lag Baomer. But until that point, Lag Baomers in this country were massive parties, and still they're pretty massive parties in this country. B'ezrat Hashem, if we do have parties this year in Israel, may the weather be good and let's not have any fires. B'ezrat Hashem. But the Hatam Sofer goes back and forth. He leans towards not doing all the crazy stuff that we do, but in trying to explain why we celebrate Lag Baomer, he brings down a Zohar on our pasuk. Now says the Zohar, interesting Kabbalah over here. On the day of the Brit Milah, the neshama begins to enter into the guf. Now, normally we think, the baby's born, the neshama is coming out. Over here, according to the Zohar, Brit Milah, the bris day, is a very important day for the neshama to actually come in properly. But he says that the neshama then, says the Zohar, the neshama then comes into the guf at the Brit Milah, but it doesn't feel fully settled until 33 days have gone by. And then, he says the Chatam Sofer, this is one of the reasons why people celebrate Lag Baomer, why it's such an important date, and he relates it to us leaving Egypt. That when we left Mitzrayim, there was this mass Brit Milah. There was this mass Brit Milah as we left Egypt, and he said it's only 33 days later that the Ruach HaKodesh properly dwelled and settled into the Jewish people, and because we had reached the level of Tahara, this level of purity we needed to reach, and that's hinted to in our pasuk of for 33 days we have the Dam Tohar. Okay, so interesting Hatam Sofer, that day 33 in the desert corresponds to Lag Baomer, corresponds to this purity of our pasuk, corresponds to the neshama. Just like the neshama finds its place in the guf on day 33, so too the nation's neshama, the Ruach HaKodesh, finds its place and feels comfortable amongst the Jewish people after 33 days in the desert. And all of this is a hint to the Kedusha of Lag Baomer. Now, if we go back to our pasuk, the pasuk says, Bechol kodesh lo tiga, ve'el hamikdash lo tavo ad melot yemei tahora. That anything holy can't be touched, and towards the mikdash, towards the mishkan, you can't come until you complete the full 33 days. So now I saw some of the Farshim explain, some of the Hasidic commentators, they say, until day 33, you can't get close to the Kodesh. But once 33 is over, once we hit that day 33, once we hit Lag Baomer, now the well springs are opened up, and now we can touch the Kodesh. Now, you can listen to our other Devar Torah that we sent out this week about the Nega Tzarat. The Nega is the same language as Negi'ah, about touching, and so now what we're saying is that this concept of we can be Nogea Bakodesh, we are now going to be ready after 33 days of prepping ourselves, getting ourselves in the right place. Now we can get close to that holy stuff. We can get close to that deep stuff. We know Lag Baomer is the day of the deepest Torah, of Hashem Bar Yochai, of the holy Zohar Kadosh. Fine. Now the Chatam Sofer says in another source, I actually saw this brought down in a bunch of Sefarim. It's in the Zera Kodesh, it's in the Bnei Yissaschar. I saw it in one of Rav Moshe Shapira's Sefarim, and many other Sefarim. They bring down that Lag Baomer is the turnover day in the Avodah of Sfirat HaOmer. That the first 32 days is Gematria Lev, is Gematria heart, and the last 17 days are Gematria Tov. So we have 32 is the Lev, 17 is the Tov, so we have Lev Tov, that the Avodah of the Sfirat HaOmer is about the Avodah of the Lev Tov. Actually, the number 32, the first 32 days is also Gematria Kavod. 32 is Gematria of Kavod. It's a hint to, it's a remez to the mourning over Rabbi Akiva's students who were not Noheg Kavod. They didn't give Kavod Zeh Bazeh. Again, the first 32 days, Gematria Kavod, until we fix that het, that sin, we can't get, we have to be in a state of mourning. And day 33 now, we make the switch over, and we fix the issue of Kavod, or it seems to be on another level that we have an Avodah of the Lev, of the heart for the first 32 days, and then we have the Avodah of the Tov, for the last 17 days. Okay, so what's that all about? So I saw a great chidush in Sefer Machane Yosef. Says Sefer Machane Yosef that the avodah of the Omer is letaharenu and ulekadeshenu. It's to purify ourselves and to get holy. That's it. We're from Chazal. We're supposed to purify ourselves, have tahora and kedusha. Now, what are the nuances? Many Sfarim have been written. Are there nuances? What are the nuances between tahora and kedusha? He writes that the avodah of the first 32 days, the avodah of the lev, is the avodah of purity, of tahora. And starting on day 33, well, we're allowed to go and touch the Kodesh. Now we're allowed to get to the Kedusha. We're now in the world of Kadeshenu. We're in the world of sanctifying ourselves. Okay. It seems to be a little bit of a sur merav aset tov happening over here. Like we have to remove some of the impediments in the first 32 days, and then aset tov, we get to the level of tov. Now it's the kadeshenu. So first tahora, prep yourself, and then we have the kadeshenu. Now, if we open up a pasuk in Kohelet, this is Perek Tet pasuk Bet. Says the pasuk. הכל כאשר לכל, מקרה אחד לצדיק ולרשע, לטוב ולטהור ולטמא ולזובח ולאשר אינו לזובח. It basically says, we're cutting the pasuk a little bit short, but basically the pasuk says that everything is really the same. The fate is the same for all. Everybody has the same ending. A lot of Kohelet's a little bit depressing. It's Hakol Hevel Habalim, but ultimately we know that what's the difference between everything? It's that Yirat Hashem, Yirat Shamayim, and using our free will to get close to God. But in this pasuk, it speaks about all types of people, both the positive and the negative. But when it speaks about the word latov and the word latahor, so comes along Rashi, and Rashi says, who is the example of the tov? Says Rashi, tov ze Moshe. And now, who is the gematria of the tahor? Who is the tahor? Tahor ze Aharon. Okay, so we have ourselves. Tov is Moshe. Moshe is symbolized by Tov in the Torah, and Aharon is symbolized by Tahor in the Torah, which is going to work very nice if we're saying the first 32 days is the avodah of Tahora, and the last 17 days is the avodah of kedusha. So now the Sefer Machane Yehuda is telling us that the 17 corresponds to Moshe, like Rashi said. The 32, the Tahora days, correspond to Aharon. So the first half of Sfirat HaOmer corresponds to Aharon until Lag Baomer, and then starting Lag Baomer, we move over to the Tov, we move over to Moshe Rabbeinu. Now we know when Aharon sees Moshe being chosen for the Jewish people, so Moshe first was worried his older brother would be upset that he's the leader and not the older brother. But Hashem says, what are you talking about? Look, your brother's coming, and he's v'sameach belibo. He's happy in his heart. So we see that Aharon is this concept of the first 32 days. He's the concept of the lev. And what do we know about Aharon also? We have the choshev, we have that breastplate goes v'haya alev Aharon. Aharon is all about the heart. He holds the whole Jewish people on his heart. He's the Ohev Shalom, Rodef Shalom. He's making the peace among the people. Sur Merah, he's trying to correct all the problems that have happened. His avodah is that avodah of the lev. There's also ideas in the tefillah on Yom Kippur about having a tahor lev, a pure heart. The Kohen Gadol has to have in order to be able to serve. But this concept of the lev, this concept of tahora, that is Aharon. Well, Moshe is known as the Tov. Baby Moshe in the Pasuk is known Kitov, who Moshe Rabbeinu is Tov. Let's have a little bit more fun now with the actual Gematrias. The 33rd word in the Torah is the word Tov. When Hashem creates the light of the world, and now we have ourselves Tov in the world. Moshe Rabbeinu had this glow. We have this or, we have this Tov, we have this good. Now, said Rashi, Belatahor is Ze Aharon. Belatahor is Gematria Aharon. So that's pretty cool. And if we're going to say that these 17 days of Tov starts with Lag Baomer, so this is a great gematria, Lag Baomer corresponds to the gematria Moshe. So Lag Baomer, the last 17 days, the Tov, that's Moshe Rabbeinu, while the Tahora, that is Aharon, Gematria Aharon. Okay, so what we see over here that the Avodah changes. It gets more Moshe-like. It gets more into the Torah. So we actually say in Pirkei Avot, Perek Vav, Mishnah Gimel, it says, Ve'ein Tov ela Torah, shenemar ki lech ha'torah nitati lechem torati al ta'azovu. The Avodah Tov seems to be this Avodah moving now. After we purified ourselves, we got ourselves ready, now we're ready to move over to the actual learning of the Torah. And we know that Lag Baomer as well is also the symbol of Torah, but this is now the Torah Sheba'al Peh, or the secrets of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. It's the Hilulav of Shimon Bar Yochai, where now we're going to try to touch the Kodesh. Let's go. Now we have the ability to go into the Mishkan, go into the Mikdash. Maybe have some Nadav and Avihu vibes over here. Let's try to get to those secrets, the Shtuya Yain we spoke about in our other Divrei Torah the last couple of weeks. We're going to try to get to that deep Torah. That's the Koch of Lag Baomer. That's the Koch of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, we see this concept of 32 becoming turning over to 33, and a new reality takes over. So I saw brought down. We see that also when it comes as a hint with Leah's kids. When Leah goes down to Mitzrayim, the pasuk says she goes down again with 33 kids. We have our number 33. Derech Agav, we're not going to speak about this in this Dvar Torah, but also the Gal Ed, the wall that Yaakov builds between him and Lavan. Those mounds of stones is also Gal's Gematria Lag. There are ideas like that as well, making this kind of separation. But we're going to go now with our idea. Says Leah that it says by Leah that she came down to Egypt with 33 kids, Lamed Gimel kids. But when you count the numbers, we only have Lamed Bet. We only have the 32. So Chazal tell us where's 33. So they say, who's 33? 33 is Yochebed, who was born Ben Hamot. She was born in that liminal spot between Egypt and Eretz Yisrael, that turnover spot. So 33 kind of symbolizes this changeover. Lag Baomer is this changeover. Now, as I was going through the parasha, I noticed another log hint. When we got to the actual purification of the tzaraat, so a log of shemen, they have to bring a certain amount known as a log of shemen had to be brought, and this concept of a log, so I think Lag Baomer, it's the same letters. What's going on over here? Baruch Shekivanti. So I found by the Hasidim, they bring down that when it comes to oil, the oil measurement is going to be the log in the temple. Why is it a log? So he says the oil, the shemen, is a remez to these bonfires that are lit on Lag Baomer, the fire that's coming forth, the Esh Torah, the Esh of the oil that's coming forth. This is the pure oil that Moshe Rabbeinu always kept, and it was never destroyed. It was even hidden away. But this whole concept of the shemen is a hint to Rabbi Shimon, not exactly the same letters, but you hear it in the sound, Shemen, Shimon, and it's actually a hint to what's going on Lag Baomer. Now, going back to these 17 days, so I saw some deeper Divrei Torah in the name of Rav Tzadok HaKohen mi Lublin. Says Rav Tzadok, Yesh b'dibrot shniyot 17 tevot yeterot al habishonot. He says when you look at what was written and what the Torah tells us is written in the first set of luchot versus the second set of luchot, he says there are 17 more words in the second luchot. V'hu b'mispar tov, and that is gematria tov. V'hu al pi masharim. This is based on what the Gemara says. B'pnei ma b'dibrot rishonot lo ne'emar bahem tov. Why does it not say the word tov in the first set of luchot? B'dibrot achronot ne'emar bahem tov, but the second luchot has the word tov. So he's saying this is referring to the 12 extra words. The Tov hu mechuvan al haor ki tov. He says, what is Tov? Tov corresponds to that really good light, the Or Tov, the Bayar ki tov, that light of the first day. Shehu haor harishon shenignaz le'amalei Torah sheba'al peh. That this is the light that was hidden away for those that are amel in the Torah, that have to work very hard. Ve'ita balachot ashniyot ani noten lecha sheyeh bahem midrash halachot ba'gadot hainu ha'Torah sheba'al peh shehu harov chokhmah letaken harov kaas. So he says that's going to be the great Torah, the Torah sheba'al peh. And as we mentioned in our Divrei Torah the last couple of weeks, the first set of luchot before we sin with the ego took us back to the original place of man. We wouldn't have had to work so hard. We wouldn't have had to. We wouldn't have needed an oral Torah even. But now we need this oral Torah. We need this Torah Sheba'al Peh. This Torah Sheba'al Peh now is the symbol of the Tov. It's that Or HaGanuz that was hidden away, but now it's been re-hidden away when we lost the first Luchot, and now the second Luchot comes with this whole Torah Sheba'al Peh, which ultimately is going to hit that highest sight, that highest height when it reaches to the Zohar and the teachings of Shimon Bar Yochai, Lag Baomer. That is the real Tov. Okay. Going back to the Zohar, so the Hatam Sofer said that the 33 days that the Jews were journeying in the desert when they left Egypt, a change took place. The Ruach HaKodesh settled in, as we saw in the case of the Neshama, the baby. The first year of a Brit Milah, and then for 33 days the Neshama isn't settled. But then after 33 days things get settled. So too when the Jewish people left Egypt, they left Egypt with a Brit Milah, and then 33 days later on Lag Baomer, the Ruach HaKodesh got settled. So it got me thinking, okay, what what special thing took place on the 33rd day in the desert? What is there any event in the Torah that we see openly? So we don't see it openly, but the Khatam Sofer himself brings down that something very special did happen based on a midrash on the 33rd day in the desert. So he says as follows. He says this midrash actually seems to argue on the Gemara. There seems to be about a 3-day difference, which we'll get into in a second. But based on this midrash, now interesting enough, we don't have this midrash. We're going to try to maybe want some of his talmidim try to explain maybe where the hint might be. But it says the Khatam Sofer as follows: when Bnei Israel left Egypt, they baked matzot, and those matzot that they had lasted for 30 days. The leftovers of those matzot lasted for 30 days, and then they traveled for 3 more days without bread until finally Hashem brought them down the man from the heaven, the lechem min hashamayim. So that would be 33 days after leaving Egypt. Lag Baomer, that's the day that the man began to fall. So the Yeridat Haman, the manna from the heaven, that becomes the secret of Lag Baomer. Now he writes that this argues on the Gemara, because from the Gemara it sounds like the second that we ran out of the matzah, it sounds like right away we started the man started, meaning we had enough matzah to last us until Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni is the 14th of Iyar, and then it sounds like the 15th of Iyar was the day that the man started, as opposed to 3 days later, which would be Yudchet Be'iyar, which would be Lag Baomer. Okay. Now, what's the difference between these 3 days? This 3-day machloket, it seems to be between the Gemara and this midrash that we don't have. So apparently, the machloket might mean that one point of opinion says that it's the second we were in pain and God gave us the bread right away. But then I saw that in one of the sources that the pasuk that says that Hashem heard our complaints, that we were hungry, we complained about the food, He heard our tlunot. That pasuk takes place after the man had already started to fall. So he says it kind of sounds like the first 3 days, or the first 2 days, we were scared it would stop. Like, okay, one day Hashem made a miracle. We were hungry. We had run out of food. We were hungry. Hashem made a miracle. Then day number 2, Hashem made a miracle. But it sounds like we needed to wait until day number 3. And then I guess there's some kind of a chazakah. Or as in this Dvar Torah that I read, on day number 3, Hashem says, now I hear your tlunot, and He made it clear to us that this man would be lasting the whole time in the desert. So it's really, maybe the man did start 3 days earlier, but on day number 3, now Hashem made it clear to us that the man is not going to stop, and that became a great day of simcha, and therefore that became the simcha of the Lag Baomer day. Now and that also works very well, because we know when it comes to Lag Baomer, the concept of the Omer itself is a remez to Lag Baomer, because the man that fell down was an Omer Legul Golet. So you have that Omer, that man connection, Omer Legul Golet. So I saw Omer Legul Golet, Omer, hint to Sirat Omer, hint to the man as well. Lagul Golet, Lamed Gimel at the beginning, is that Lag Baomer hint as well. So we even have this concept. Now I saw in a different Sefer B'Ma'agalei Sofer, he brings down a midrash in the Yachud Shimoni that says Hashem won't let 3 days go by without answering a tzaddik. But we see over here that Hashem would let 3 days go by. That is normal. He won't let more than 3 days go by. Sorry, he says so it won't be more than 3 days, but up to 3 days that could be. Hence, it could be there was a 3-day wait until the man actually fell down. Fine. But based on this Khatam Sofer, the Lag Baomer is the day that the man fell, and therefore man becomes a symbol for Lag Baomer. So I saw an unbelievable idea. It says as follows. There is a pele. This is really awesome. Ki bechol parashat Haman, hachal ma pasuk harishon. If you go to the parasha that speaks about the falling of the man from the very beginning, where it says, Vayomer Hashem Moshe, Hineni mamtir lachem lechem min hashamayim. I'm going to bring you this heavenly bread down, until the end of the pasuk. Vehaomer asirut haifahu, telling you how much what the measurement of the man is an Omer Asir Ta'ifa. Yeshnam Lamed Gimel Pesukim. There's 32 Pesukim. Lo pachot velo yoter remez al Haman sherad belag baomer. And he says, since the whole point of the man is for to mechazek our bitachon, therefore we have ourselves 32 psukim keneged the bitachon that we know is the epitome of what the man is supposed to teach us. The man is supposed to teach us that we have to trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem will provide for us, that Hashem will take care of us. We'll see in a second that this is also the hint to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and his great level of emunah and bitachon in Hashem. Okay. Now, this concept of lechem min hashamayim, bread from the heavens, it's also a hint to the secrets of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai that's called the Torah from the Shamayim, and thus Lag Baomer is this special day where we can learn the Torah of the Ochlei Haman. The highest level of Torah scholars are known as those who are the Ochlei Man, the ones who eat the man min hashamayim. They rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This also is a hint at this great level of Torah from Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, we said that this midrash from the Chatam Sofer, we can't find it. We don't know where the midrash is, but I saw that there might be a remez from a different midrash, because a different midrash says that the man fell bischut Moshe Rabbeinu. So if Moshe, as we said earlier, is gematria Lag Baomer, and we also know that when Moshe dies, the man stops falling. So Moshe corresponds to the man. Moshe is gematria Lag Baomer. Therefore, on Lag Baomer, that's the first day bischut Moshe that the man comes down. Okay, but there's another hint in the Gemara to this concept of the man and Rav Shimon Bar Yochai and this special day of Lag Baomer. Okay, so I saw as follows. Vakati, yesh lasbir tam yeridat haman belag baomer daika. Why dafka does the man fall on Lag Baomer? Benira ki Lag Baomer hu yom leidat uptirat Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He says that tzaddikim, they are born and die on the same day. So therefore, this day of Lag Baomer, while the historians might debate this a lot on a mystical level, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is the day of Lag Baomer. That Kadosh Baruch Hu memalesh shnotav shesakim yom layom. Hashem completes the full year of a person. The ita bagmara. Now the Gemara teaches us in Brachot Daf Lamed Hey Amud Bet Tano Rabbanan. The asafta de ganecha. We have to go out. The Torah tells us, we say it in the Shema, we have to go out and take our grains. Ma Talmud Lomar. The Gemara asks, what does it mean we have to go out there and get our bread? Lefi shene'amar lo yimush sefer Torah ze mipicha. Because the Torah also tells us that it tells us Yoshua, the Torah can never leave our lips. Even when Moshe Rabbeinu is about to go fight a war, the angel comes and says, "Hello, why'd you stop learning Torah at night? You got to learn Torah." We can never stop learning Torah. So if we can never stop learning Torah, we can't have a bitul Torah. So then, why does the Torah tell us about asafta de ganecha? So I might have thought we have to take it so literally, lo yamush sefer Torah ze mipicha, that I wouldn't be allowed to work. Talmud Lomar, the pasuk tells us about Safta de Ganecha and Heg B'Yam Minhag Derech Eretz Di Rabbi Ishmael. So Rabbi Ishmael comes along and says, no. It says Safta de Ganecha. We have to go out there and we have to actually have to work the land as well, and we're allowed to get a job. But comes along Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai Omer, Efshar Adam Choresh B'Shat Chavisha B'Zoreh B'Shat Zri'ah. He says, can it really be if that person's going to go out there, he's going to work, he's going to do the harvesting, and he's going to do everything in the right time, and he's actually going to have time to learn? Torah Mateh Alea. What's going to be with the Torah? You're not going to have any time. So rather, what he says, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, Ela B'Zman Sh'Yisrael Osin V'Tzono Shel Makom Melachtan Na'asid Aydei Acherim. He says, therefore, when we do the work of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we focus on God, God will make it that other people will take care of our needs. But if we don't do the work of others, then the asafta deganecha, and there's diukim in the psukim there between the first and second paragraph of the Shema. But then eventually, if we don't put our trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we don't focus on the Torah, then we're gonna have to go and work. But if you could really dedicate yourself to Hashem, if you can do as what Shimon Bar Yochai says, make your Torah keva, make it full day learning, and be so super dedicated. So on the level of Shimon Bar Yochai, Hashem will take care of all of your food. Hashem's going to take care of all of your needs. Now, what does it mean? He's going to take care of all your needs. That's going to be that the man is going to fall down. That's why it says that the Torah was given only the ochlei aman, only those who really have that full emunah on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like those that are the ochlei aman, those that eat the man, meaning those that rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the level of Shimon Bar Yochai. When he and his son are running away from the Romans, they hide in a cave. Hashem created a tree for him. Also, we have a story in the Navi, in the times of Yirmiyahu, when people weren't learning Torah anymore. They were too busy working, and they were just focused so much on their parnasah. That what did Yirmiyahu do? They went and they took out the Tzimtzenet Haman. They showed them that, look, our forefathers, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, took care of them from the Shamayim. So he says HaKadosh Baruch Hu has enough food on his shulchan to bring it down to us. So therefore, on the day of Lag Baomer, the day of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, that's the day of Lo Yamush Sefer Torah Ze Mipicha. It's the day of the Tov, Ein Tov Ela Torah. That's the day we can do the Torah exactly as it says. Lo yamush sefer Torah hazeh mipicha. It shouldn't leave our lips, our peh. We'll get back to the peh in a second. But this is the koach of the Yeridat Haman, the koach of Shimon Bar Yochai. That's why it makes sense that it's all tied together on this one day when the secrets of the Torah, when the Torah Shemin HaShamayim is all going to come down, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will feed us from the Shulchan Milmala, whether that means physically feed us, whether that means the Torah Min HaShamayim, the deepest secret. So I saw that last idea is in Sefer Rashbi. It's a whole book on Shimon Bar Yochai by Rav Shimon Vanunu. Okay. So Bar Yochai's approach is of emunah, of trusting in a Kadosh Baruch Hu. We mentioned the name Shimon. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, Shimon is a hint to the word Shemen. So actually, I saw a different source that said Shimon is the letters Shua Man. What does Shua mean? Shua is a pasuk in Eov that has the word Shua. Shua means Osher. It means wealth. So we have Shua Man. What you want to know what the real wealth is? The real wealth comes from the Man. Those that are the Ochlei Man. Those that have the emunah of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai that can rely on the Man and understand the belief system that comes out of the Man, and that's the greatest Osher. That's the greatest wealth in the entire world. Now, to close with one last idea. So we've been speaking about this lechem min hashamayim, this bread min hashamayim, a hint to the Torah min hashamayim, that the greatest tov, more specifically to the Torah shebe'al peh, the second luchot, and then we have to toil on our own, and ultimately get to the secrets that start on Lag Baomer. So I brought down, that is why the Torah shebichtav doesn't tell us the ta'amim, the reasons for why we do things. You know, the average mitzvah, you have to open up a Sefer HaChinuch, you have to start opening up the Torah shebe'al peh. It's only in the Torah shebe'al peh that we're going to begin to understand the ta'amim. Ta'amim literally means tastes, literally means flavors. It's the reasons why we do the mitzvot, our attempts to try to understand, to try to find a little bit of a flavor, a little bit of a light, to try to understand why we do what we do. It's called ta'amim. Ta'amim, a language of taste. Why? Because the ta'amim, to try to understand the deeper reasons behind things, that is an action of the peh. That is an action of the Torah shebe'al peh, and ultimately, ta'amu or uki tov, taste the Torah, you're going to see that it's tov, might also here be a hint of those last 12 days from Lag Baomer till Shavuot, till we really get that Torah on Shavuot night. But right now, we're still in the period of the Lev, we're still in the period of the Kavod. We have to work on ourselves right now, the Sur Merah, fix our mistakes, work on that purity section. So when we reach the 33 days of purity, as they hinted to at the beginning of our pasuk with the Dam Tohar, once we get to that real level of purity, the Lamed Bet, which we saw the Rabbeinu Bachai speaks about Lamed Bet paths of Chokhmah and deeper mystical ideas. Once we get to that level of Torah, then Bezrat Hashem, we can really see that light, we can really taste that Tov, really get to the Torah. And which Torah? The Torah, the Ta'am Tov, the deepest secrets of the Torah. Shabbat Shalom.